Let's talk about some books that disappointed me the way I disappointed my father as a child. What is up, book nerds of the internet? Today is Father's Day, the day that so many people are telling their fathers how much they love and care for them and talking about all of the good that they have brought into their lives. Must be nice. In honor of my first father, we are going to be talking about some books that disappointed the crap out of me. This video will serve as my disappointing / worst books that I have read from January all the way into June. My reading year has been stellar. There have been some books that were mediocres, but not many, which I absolutely love to see it. Those of you who've been following me for quite a while know that I am a very critical, very picky reader. That's why I have an entire series dedicated to me talking about books that I cannot stand. It's called Waste My Time. A playlist is in the description box below if you haven't seen that series or want to check out those videos. I'm actually really geeked to come on here and talk to y'all about some books that I just didn't like, books that weren't for me, and books that did not meet my expectations. So we're going to be starting from least offensive all the way to the most offensive. The book that wasted way too much of my time. Books that made me glad that I'm single and going to die alone because there is nothing good in this world anyway. Coming in at the very bottom, we have The Kindred by Alicia Dao. Again, I said this in my experiment video, but I do not know how to pronounce this author's names. I read The Kindred for my latest experiment vlog where I read 7 magical murder mysteries and my Belgian Malinois Akasha had to solve a mystery of her own. That video is going to be linked in the description. It took 2 months to film. It is the biggest thing I've ever done on this channel and it was really, really fun. So please check it out. The Kindred was the only book that I read for that vlog that I did not like. Now, this is a book that I ended up DNFing because I could not be bothered. The Kindred is a YA science fiction romance following 2 teens, one who is a duke and the other a lowly commoner. Our duke character is kind of a playboy, wealthy boy, and he gets around. He is queer, he likes to have a good time, he is really, really into music and is a singer, but is just seized by really, really intense performance anxiety, and he always chokes on stage. And his best friend, whose name I believe is Joy, I worked so hard to forget everything about these characters, like I said, is a commoner, and I don't remember what her aspirations were because I just could not be bothered. Was she an artist?
Whatever, she was alive.
And the two of them have been linked at birth. This society was having a lot of issues with class, and the powers that be were like, I know, what's gonna solve this is if at birth we pair 2 people from different classes together and they share this kind of mind connection, and that's gonna fix the class problems. It's actually really funny if you think about it, because the society literally said, okay, instead of fixing these class disparities, we're just gonna let y'all talk to each other, but we're not going to work on any of the structural inequality. That's none of our concern.
Okay, you're doing great, sweetheart.
And so essentially the conflict of this book arises when the Duke is accused of killing someone in order to ascend to the throne, and the 2 of them have to go on this intergalactic mission in order to clear their name and try not to get killed in the process. So it is very action-packed, and one of the things that I really liked about it was how fast-paced it moved and how political it was. This is a book that is going to do really, really well for you if you are a person who loves social commentary and intense descriptions of political and class disparities that have been put in place over many, many, many years, and the powers that be that are really interested in keeping those disparities. A society that has been incredibly unkind to women and women of lower classes especially. There's just a lot of really awesome themes in this book to dissect. And I don't mean that those things are awesome, but just the way that those themes were handled in the text was pretty cool. I got less than halfway in though. That's what she said. I physically could not with this book because it was the writing for me. It was the writing for me. Now I ended up DNFing this book and not rating it because I realized that I was miserable. I was not enjoying my reading experience, specifically because of the writing. I'm not the audience for this book, and I'm just never going to be the audience for it. And I just realized that it would be better to do the book a service and just put the book down, give it away, and let someone who actually is the audience to read it instead. And so sadly, this book was not for me. And that's why it was disappointing. It was definitely a me thing. This has nothing to do with the book. I do highly, highly encourage it. But if you are a reader like me who does really enjoy YA, but needs their YA to have, how do I put this? It's like, I do love YA. I really, really do. But I have to be very selective about the YA books that I enjoy. I have to read YA writing that is a little bit towards the older side, or as far towards the older side of YA as it gets. But that's not even necessarily accurate to say, because I do enjoy middle grade. So I don't know what it was, but I think it was just like the technology was so cool and the themes and all of that were so awesome, but the writing just didn't feel strong enough to make me connect to those elements, to stand up next to those really, really brilliant elements. So have any of y'all read The Kindred? I can't remember if it's out or not. Yeah, it totally is out. Yep, it is out. Yeah, dude, it just wasn't the book for me. Next up, we are going to talk about a book that is going to get me excommunicated from the queer community. And honestly, I'm just shocked it hasn't happened yet. And that book is none other than Under the Idolatries by Chinelo Ukparanta. Oh my God, you guys, please, 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 please. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I really hope that Starla does not see this video, because this is one of Starla's absolute favorite books. And I could not have been more excited for Under the Idolatries. Like, I'm telling you, this is like the Sapphic Bible. Okay, it is a book that always gets mentioned when we talk about sapphic literature. And I think it's way more popular on Bookstagram and in like top books list kind of thing versus booktube, because I really haven't heard a whole lot of booktubers talk about it. Those of you who are booktubers and consumers of booktube, let me know in the comment section down below if you have seen this book going around here in this space, and if you have read it and what your thoughts were. And here's the problem. This is the reason that this book is on the disappointing side, right? Like the first two books here are just disappointing. Oh my God, completely unrelated, but yesterday,
Or was it 2 days ago?
Yesterday, I filmed my annual Black Author book haul, and this was one of the books that I hauled, and it was sitting right over there. And just look how similar these covers are in terms of their color schemes. And they're both by Black authors. Actually, I think this author is British Nigerian, I want to say. Right? Yeah, this author is British Nigerian, and this author is also Nigerian, but not British. Huh. Wow, that was a really interesting detour, Jessie, that nobody cares about. Did any of you notice the gymnastics I just jumped through in order to avoid talking about this book? We're doing great. Okay, oh my God. I don't. Okay, look, let's just start easy. I'm gonna start by telling you what Under the Idolatries is about. What the fuck is it about? In Under the Idolatries, we are following a girl as she comes of age. Her name is Ijeoma, and she is born in war-torn Nigeria. And she is a girl who likes girls, and we get to follow her throughout her lifespan as she realizes that she likes girls. Oh my God, we're doing so great. It is essentially a star-crossed romance where she meets another girl and falls in love, and she lives in a place where that is not allowed. And so it is a constant struggle between religion and attitudes of those around her, and deep, deep-seated self-shame and self-hatred and pain and agony in what it means to be gay in a world that was not built for you and is not ready for you. It is a story of love and war and queerness and duty and family and tradition. And it also has very, very heavy mythological elements that are pretty cool. And so reading this book, I 100%, 110% understand why it is so beloved. This was the June buddy read pick for my patrons, and we really enjoyed it as a whole. Like, the patrons absolutely loved this read, although the biggest criticism was how traumatic this book was. If you are a person who likes sad books, traumatizing books, look no further. Cannot even begin to talk about the triggers for this book though. It is really heavy, really brutal, really violent, really unrelenting, and it is sad. Like, it it will rip your heart out of your chest. It didn't do that to me because I don't have one. It's a story that needs to be told, and I'm so glad that this book exists. I'm so glad that this book exists.
Here's my problem.
Here's my problem. I did not care. I could not be bothered. The writing has been applauded as the best thing that's ever happened to all of existence, okay? And so I was expecting writing that was like a punch to the mouth, you know what I'm saying? And I just didn't get that. The writing was nowhere near as like profound and incredible as I was expecting. And y'all know that I'm a geek for really, really beautiful writing. It doesn't have to be lyrical, but just the kind of writing that sticks in your head, okay? Like, that's what I absolutely love. And I'm not saying the writing wasn't good. The writing is phenomenal, right? There's dissonance there, because if I had to describe the writing in terms of skill, it's a 10 out of 10. But in terms of it sticking with me, in terms of it making me feel, in terms of making me believe, I didn't get any of that. The storytelling, it just didn't do it for me. And also these characters are going through a lot. I should be feeling wrecked. I was not. I just didn't feel any of the things that I was supposed to feel. LOL, me trying to date men. The only scenes I cared about were the lesbian scenes. They were so brief and like understandably brief. And I don't mean the sex scenes, but I just mean the romance. And I can't even call it romance because these girls barely, their stolen moments can hardly be called romance. Like, it's so unfair. But it's just, I flipped open the book and the first line that I see that I had highlighted was, I had resigned myself to hopelessness, me while reading this book. It did nothing for me.
Me trying to date men.
That's the problem. And going into this book expecting it to be everything was, so unfortunately it was a disappointment. And again, this is a me thing, because like I said, in terms of all these elements, 5 out of 5 stars. But I can say that like the characters really did feel flat. And I think that was kind of the point, was like everything about this book was supposed to keep the reader at a distance. And that makes sense. And I understand why the writer made that choice. But I just don't think, in terms of my enjoyment of the story, that it was the choice for me. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is an amazing rating, right? But in terms of my freaking expectations, like, I've waited years to read this book. Years. Because I knew that I was going to be destroyed, and I wanted to make sure I was ready and in the right spot and all of that. And it just was a huge, huge, huge letdown. So comment down below and let me know, what was the last book that you'd waited forever for just so that you could be ready for it and it let you down? Maybe I'll make them into a video.
Who knows? But
another good example as to like why this book just did so little for me was that you would have actual pages. Okay, so from here, I know you can't see because my autofocus is doing whatever the fuck it wants. From here to here, and then to here, they're all just Bible verses, just verses. And that happens a lot in the book. And I've said this before, like in my reviews, I don't care if there are Bible verses and like heavy religious talk in books, because if it's a part of the character's life, then I'm down. Like, if it's a part of their story, then why not? Like, even though I'm not Christian, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like annoyed or like, oh my God, like how dare they put Bible verses and talk about God in a book where the main character is a Christian. You know what I mean? Like that I would never say that. I still really enjoy reading about perspectives of people who are Christian. That's why I like to read. I like to jump into other people's headspace and feel what they feel and that kind of thing. But man, these Bible verses, they were just, I was like, okay, like, should we be copywriting her for how much she took from the Bible? Like, goddamn. You know what I mean? I just like, it just wasn't for me. It just was not for me. And I'm so sad and I'm so sorry, to all the lesbians out there that I'm single-handedly letting down. You know what? This is why I'm single, and I understand. This is why I'm single. So those were the 2 books that were disappointing. And now let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about The Double House. Who wrote this book? Was it John something? John Middleton? John Krakauer? John Cupcake? What was this man's name? John Daniel. Oh my God, was he a 2-name situation? I don't know who wrote it. I should have, look, oh my God. Look, okay, I love horror. I love I love horror. I really, really do. Now that I've like reorganized my book room, I'm trying to get back into my absolute love affair with horror. And I was ready for a new horror book, okay? Comment down below with how many times I said horror. I promise my vocabulary is more vast than my trauma. This is a book about a man who does renovating work, and he moves into this house that is notoriously haunted. I think he's also a writer. He moves into this house and it's, you know, haunted, and a lot of people died there. Like a lot of people, like blood soaked into the floorboard situation. Like nobody's having a good time situation. Like I'll wait on the porch situation. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Even the Ouija board as it was being carried into the house was like, no, 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 I don't want to go. That kind of situation. Like this is not the house. It's literally called Devil House. So obviously the main character is white, and I was listening to the audiobook, and those of you who follow me know that like audiobooks are it for me. I have read books via audio that were 5 out of 5 stars, but reading the book physically was like a 3-star. You know what I'm saying? Like audiobooks will skyrocket. If I'm trying to love a book, I will try to read it via audio because, you know, that's the only chance. And the audiobook is on Scribd, and I was listening to it ready to pull out all of my teeth and then glue them back in upside down. It was so boring. I was so bored. I was so bored. I was literally a plank of wood. I was so bored. That's literally all I have to say about this book. Like, and I've heard such amazing things about it, like on Bookstagram with horror bookstagrammers, and maybe I just didn't get far into it enough, because I ended up DNFing it. I just couldn't. I knew. I know. I don't even know why I tried to backtrack right there. Like, we are not roller skating. No, absolutely not. I was so fucking bored. I was bored to the point where I was like, it's not even worth it. Like, the devil himself could have appeared in between the pages and been like, hey, and I still could not by that time, because I listened to so much of the book with zero payoff. And by that time, I was like, I don't even care. I do not care. The secrets of the universe could have been in those pages, and I still wouldn't have been bothered to continue. Do you know what I'm saying? Chapter 36 could literally be, oh yeah, your father is going to come back into your life and correct him abandoning you as a child and undo all that trauma. And I think that was kind of the point of the horror book though, in the author's defense. I think the author set out to make the character feel like they were in hell by making them read this boring ass book. Let's talk about Grendel's game. Let's talk about Grendel's game. So if you want to see a full video on Grendel's game by, I can never remember this man's name. He's a Swedish author. I don't remember his name. We're just going to call him Viggo Mortensen because that's the first name that came to mind. Is he Swedish? He's not Swedish. What is Viggo Mortensen? Alexa. Grendel's Game is a Beowulf-inspired thriller by a Swedish author, and it follows a detective who, we're gonna call him John. It follows a detective who receives a letter one day from a cannibal, and this cannibal is describing the people that he has cannibaled. He's kind of making a treatise on why we should all eat people, and he's like, I know I sound insane, and the detective is like, do you though? Like, do you know how insane you sound? And he's like, no, but you know, you should eat people because of X, Y, and Z. Like, they taste great, good for the environment, good for the oceans, you know, takes money away from the packing plants. And I'm just reading this letter like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Then there was a part where he was like, yeah, you know, like I would eat kids, but that's unethical. And I was like, that's unethical? That's where you draw the line? This dude is patting himself on the back. Right? Okay, he's literally Robert Pattinson. Children, because they're like tender, they would taste the best, but like, I'm not gonna eat a kid. That's wrong. That's unfair. They deserve a chance to grow up. And I'm like, so you gonna let them grow up so you could eat them later? Like, you're gonna raise the pig for the slaughter? More than my father did for me. There were 2 things about the book that disappointed me. And the first I will tell you because it's, you know, it's not a spoiler. It's something that you deserve and need to know if you're gonna go and read this book. The second, I'll let you watch that video and find out for yourselves, because that's gonna be my treat for you. That's gonna be my plug to go watch that video. Give me that view, give me that like, give me that click. Transphobia, the transphobia in this book. The transphobia in this book. I did see it coming. Like, I had a vision. Okay, I was Raven Simone for a second, and I still wasn't ready. When it happened, I was like, don't do it. Don't do it, Viggo Mortensen. Don't do it. Go star in an action film. Go do the splits, Viggo Mortensen. Go do that nude fighting scene for 8 minutes. Go do that. Don't do it.
He did it.
He did it. It was upsetting. The story was going great, and then the transphobia came in like a wrecking ball, and I was like, okay, Miley Cyrus. And it was one of those books that is a false premise, and just there's nothing like. I was so upset because I was also listening to it on Scribd, and I was so into it. It was really, really good. And I was like, oh my God, I found a new favorite like thriller author, because he has other books out and it's the first in a series. And I just was like, okay, so those of you who have watched my Grendel's Game movie, what? Who are you? Why? What? Hollywood? What? Those of you who have watched my Grendel's Game Wasted My Time YouTube video. Okay, Jesse, you have high aspirations. Comment down below and let me know if you would like to see me read any more books from that author for a potentially waste my time, because I am doing this little vlog series that I'm going to be starting soon where I read books that may potentially waste my time, books that y'all think will waste my time. So let me know if you'd be interested in that, or if you're like,
No, just like leave that dude alone.
those are my most disappointing and worst reads of 2022 thus far. Not bad, considering all the books that I've read. Just having this chunk of ones that I didn't like, not that bad. Can't complain. That's gonna do it for this video. If you want more content from me, I do have a Patreon where I post exclusive, juicy content for my patrons. However, if you would like to stalk me anywhere else, all my social media links are in the description box below. Stay safe, rebel against the patriarchy, disappoint your fathers, and come back and see another one of my videos.